here's part 2 of painting big sixes. And although you see me getting straight into painting, between the painting sessions, I actually do stand back for a while and look at where I'm at. And I'm looking at it with the thoughts of, what do I like? In these stages of the paintings, I'm really not looking or concentrating on what I don't like. I'm looking at areas that I want to expand on, or I'm looking for things that that the painting is just asking for. So when I looked back, and I do sit there for quite a while before I paint and think about, okay, where is this going? Where do I want it to go? What do I want to follow? I decided I needed to bring in some of the palette that there wasn't much of, or that I'd started to go with a little bit of, now I want to expand on. So you will see me reaching for greens. I've got deeper greens and I've got the green gold, and I'm even putting in some Australian ocean, I think that's called the Australian Ocean Deep, and it's a beautiful bluey green. So I'm trying to just get a bit more depth, a bit more contrast, and also adding in things that can give me surprises, that can be happy accidents, that give me more that I want to follow in later layers. And here's me, and it will be, like I say, there is a balance going on here. So I've put some nice deep greens and blues in, and now I'm coming back with a different pink that I think complements the other colours that are in there quite nicely, but gives me something different. Because I'm really wanting to, I'm still in early layers, so I'm not thinking about final composition at all. I'm still trying to add depth to the palette. I'm still trying to find interest in the composition. I'm still looking for places that I want to expand on. So I'm putting some of this quite opaque pink down, which is a nice contrast to the transparent pinks that I often use. And then you'll see me going back and forward with some of the lighter colours as well. And here I've reached for an oil pastel. It's probably about this stage where I want to get different marks in there. So I'm looking for different tools and looking at different ways of putting different marks on there. So I know when I grab my oil pastels, and this is a beautiful, it's almost a mustardy greeny colour. It's quite a thick Sennelier oil pastel. It gives me the ability to bring in some lines that I can't do with the brush. I can't do with those bigger brushes. But they do give me little areas of interest that I can follow on later layers. And now I'm going back to some deeper colours. So I've got those deeper bluey greens, and now I'm going towards more of a deep burgundy colour. But if you see, I'm working in a similar area, so they're blending a little bit together. And that's intentional because I want them to blend. I don't want them to look like they're from different paintings. So if you see that bluey green with that burgundy on top, it makes quite a nice deep brown in parts. And it's quite chunky in comparison to anything else that I've painted. So I need some areas of contrast. There was just not enough deep under layers. If you remember, on an earlier layer I had quite a bit of black or close to black, and a lot of that's been covered over. So here I'm attempting to bring some back in a different way, concentrating on some different areas. But again, I'm working really, I know these are sixes, but to be honest, at this point, I have lost sense of the sixes. that may come back at some stage, but after that time where I've sat and looked at this painting, now my thinking brain's gone and I'm just moving instinctively. I'm just going around and adding bits where I see it, feeling into where I can deepen areas, feeling into where I can simplify areas, where I can bring out a more interesting colour, where it may need more depth. So I think you could see it on my last reel that I have these three distinct areas where I'm bringing in darker colours. The one in the middle of the screen and then one on either side. I think I'll begin expanding on those a little bit so they don't seem quite so disjointed. And here I've reached for a different brush, one of my favourite brushes. It's very, very long, so that I don't have as much control over the marks I make. I want them to be a little bit uncontrolled, a little bit loose. And it's these long brushes that really help in letting go of anything too perfect. I don't like anything too perfect, as you can probably see in my work. I like the mess. I like the feeling of looseness in my work. And I like the happy accidents that using a tool like this can bring to a piece. Again, it's that dark colour that I'm choosing to use because I've got a lot of light areas. So I want to bring in some different strokes in this dark colour. That is a bit of that bluey green mixed in with black to make it even deeper. I'm enjoying making these marks with this brush. So as you can see, when I enjoy doing something, I do a lot of it. And I think it's helping give me areas of interest. I'm doing similar marks, but they're all still different from each other, so that that doesn't look like I've done the same thing everywhere. It's all a little bit different, but they work together. At different times you'll see me just stop a little bit, take a little bit of a breather, have a little bit of a look at what my next move might be. And this is a different brush. I actually just recently bought this little round brush, and I've gone straight into a very, very fluoro pink. But that pink is made up of a fluoro pink and the quinacridone magenta. And you know, as I often do, I go hard with it all over the painting to bring cohesion right the way across. And now I've added orange into that mix, so it is a fluoro orange, or it might actually be fluoro red, added into the pink, which just deepens it, and it works with the pink without it being exactly the same. So now we've got some beautiful pops of colour right across the whole painting. You know, finding these little brushes, I found that brush when I was on the way back from the Byron hinterlands in some little shop in a little town on the way back, and I love the way that it puts paint onto the canvas in a different way. There I'm putting some fluoro over the black areas. And now I'm thinking the painting needs a little bit of warmth, but also a bit of opacity. So I've used one of my pots of paint. I think it was the light yellow, and I've just added to it. I've added some depth to it, and I've got this gorgeous beigey brown colour that I think works so beautifully with the pinks. I'm really enjoying that beige colour. I think you'll see that I'll bring quite a bit more of that onto the canvas or onto the paper. It adds a mid-tone, but it's just a nice balance. I love the flat, opaque colours. Often I do them with greys and whites, but in this case that brown, that light brown tan colour is just gorgeous. And I think I use this quite a bit, this tan colour. I'll add more either depth to it with a brown, a darker brown, or I'll add white into it, and it'll give me a slightly lighter version, but in the same family, in the same tonal range. There you can see I've lightened it up a little bit so it complements the colour I've already put on, but it adds to it. It's a beautiful colour. It's the same but just with white added into it. So I can expand on those areas, those mid-tone areas. You know, as I'm looking at this painting as a whole at this stage, while it may not be anywhere near, there's just lots of little pockets that are interesting to me. So I'm in an interesting part of the messy middle stage with no desire or need to get out of it at this point. I just want to add more. I love the painting process. I love putting paint down. So this is just fun for me at this point. It's just having fun and following just the next move. So here you'll see I've gone for another opaque colour in a light grey. I'm loving what the opacities are doing. As I do, I go from the transparent bright colours to the more dull opaque colours. Look at how that pink pops against that grey. It just lights me up. So I'll be putting, and I'm being quite sparing with this grey colour. I'm feeling like you don't need a lot of it, but it just really highlights the pops of the bright and pulls them back a little bit. You don't need a lot to pull it back, but that bright pink pops more when it's got something dull sitting next to it. I'm being quite considered about where it's going. I'm actually really enjoying the brush as well, the brush that I'm using. All the different tools. If you could see a little bit further from the canvas, you'd see that there's quite a mess happening on the outside. I've got all kind of tools and pots and brushes, and I'm often using the same one in different pots to get beautiful blends of all the colours. I'm not known for keeping a tidy space as I paint. I kind of like the chaos because I'm looking for a little bit of chaos. I quite like the chaos that happens on the canvas that is helped along by me having a bit of chaos around me. Some people find that unsettling or uncomfortable. For me, it's a comfortable place to sit in that discomfort. Comfort in the discomfort. That was probably the most considered colour that I've added to this painting yet, those little grey marks. As I say, I'm enjoying what they're doing. So I'm taking my time with them. Now you might have seen that it just jumped a little bit ahead. I've added some areas of that very pale yellow, very opaque yellow. I was just waiting for a bit of drying time, and I think I might have just failed to put the camera on quite in time, but you didn't miss too much. Just a little bit of that yellow going on after the grey. Lots and lots for me to love about where I'm sitting right now. While nowhere near the final layers, there's just so much going on, so many colours, so much variation in the marks that it's lighting me up. I brought out a really nice little flat brush, quite a short flat brush that helps spread the paint in a different way. I'm getting close to feeling like this paint is complete, this layer is complete, and then I might be getting close to needing another bit of time for the painting to really sit and dry before I come back over, before I come and sit and have a look at it and think about, okay, where am I going next? What's my next move? What's my next color? But just before I go, I'm adding some more of that burgundy color, but a bit brighter. I've added some more quinacridone magenta in. So I hope you join me for the next layer in this series of big sixes. Comment or ask me any questions below, and I'd love you to follow my channel.